I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I look for a motion to approve the minutes of our last regular session on May the 6th.
Make that motion. Second?
Vote.
Yes.
Yes. And I'd also look for a motion for the special session on May the 8th.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Vote.
Yes.
Yeah. Moving up a couple spots on the agenda tonight would be the Larkstone and Linworth Special Improvement District. Our council is here if you want to have the floor. This is Pete Griggs, who's been our outside counsel for many years. And he will tell you all about the Special Improvement District and answer any questions you may have.
So,
You want me to start?
yeah, because Chet could probably give you the background and why we're talking about a special improvement district, and then I can get into the legalese.
Okay, so, in 2019, I'll make this long story short, we negotiated an agreement with the city of Columbus to allow for the acceptance of water, indoor sewer service in the township without having to annex to the city. Now, there were some properties that did that well before, obviously, and had been with the city for some time. They got their services. It cost them a good chunk of change to annex and a few other things. That agreement also allowed people to come back to the township. They could detach from the city of Columbus, come back and get Columbus or township services, keep their water and sewer and so forth. So it did a number of different things. It also dealt with some taxation issues, but for your purposes, you being on basically well water, and some of you have Franklin County sanitary sewer. It allowed you to have the option of getting those services without having to go to the city and annex and pay money and all that stuff. However, in your particular area, we do not have water lines in the ground. And the township does not necessarily has not been in the business of water sewer business. We're not used to doing that. And so this agreement with the city has kind of been rolling out bit by bit. And we have been aware of your particular situation. You're not alone. There's two other areas in the same or similar situation, needing the services that you may need, but not having the infrastructure in which to provide those services. We just don't have a magical wand that we can say, yes, the water's on Linworth and we'll magically pipe it to your house. So we're having to try to look at options in which that will allow us to pay for the infrastructure to be put in the ground and for you to have the option of choosing whether or not you want that service. This is a public information meeting. We're not here to tell you that this is going to happen. We're telling you that this is an option. We're not telling you even if the infrastructure exists, that you have to tap in. That'll be your choice to do that. We're just simply saying we're looking at this as an option. We believe that some residents down there, well, we know some residents have contacted us in regards to the status of their wells, and that a couple of them have gone dry. And they're wanting to know basically what's the township going to do about that. And this is kind of where we are. We have the ability to get the water legally, logistically, the water can get to your house once the infrastructure is in place. But we need to figure out a way to pay for it. Now, Pete will go over this in great detail. The Special Improvement District is a property owner initiated process. It's not something that the three trustees and the fiscal officer and us can just simply say, yep, we're going to assess your taxes and you're going to get this infrastructure and this is the way it's going to be. That's not who we are. That's not what this process is about. So this is more, like I said, of an informational meeting, try to explain what a special improvement district is. It is not the only option, but it is the best option available, based upon the concerns that our negotiating partner, the city of Columbus, may have. They're very sensitive about certain things. And, the special improvement district seemed to kind of placate their concerns about how we could go about paying for such infrastructure. But again, this is informational. This is not us telling you what you're going to get or what you're going to pay for. This is something you would have to initiate. So did I cover
Yeah,
everything? Okay.
that's the background. So, townships, are very unique, and the township itself does not have the ability to provide water and sewer. You just, they're unlike a city, which is why, people historically, when they wanted, centralized utilities, the city of Columbus required them to annex as part of, to receive those utilities. Uh, Perry Township, as Chet said, negotiated a deal, that allowed for certain areas to receive these utilities without annexation. And quite frankly, it was historic. It's never been done before with the city of Columbus. So kudos to these three gentlemen up here for negotiating that deal. A long time, I mean, it goes all the way back to Mayor Sensenbrenner. And it's called the Sensenbrenner policy, that if you want centralized utilities, you have to annex. So, for, just to get to that spot, and allow certain areas of township to receive centralized utilities. Again, it was landmark. So I've been doing this now for 24 years. And that's the first agreement. And I represent pretty much everybody in central Ohio. That's the first, agreement that Columbus has offered. Anyway, so that was the first hurdle. The second hurdle is, well, how do you get it there and how do you pay for it? That Columbus is not willing, they're not willing to do, right? Which is not uncommon. And the township itself does not have the authority under the law to simply start their own water or sewer department. So trying to brainstorm with the city of Columbus, about how that happens. And one of there are certain things you can do. You can create what they call a water and sewer district. And Columbus really didn't like that idea because, they're concerned about other townships doing the same thing. So one of the things that they threw out was a mechanism under the law called a special improvement district. And it's a little bit unique in townships. Where you see them, is perhaps more in cities themselves. And a lot of people don't realize they're even there. So if you know, because our offices used to be down in downtown Columbus, Gay Street on downtown, which is now a really kind of nice area that's got like the median with flowers, and they've revitalized that corridor with restaurants. And a lot of times you'll see people with like, like blue shirts on, like polos or long sleeves, and they'll be out there cleaning, and they're not City of Columbus employees, but they're out there, cleaning and doing other things. That area is a special improvement district. And a special improvement district is basically a geographical area where the property owners come together And, it agreed to pay an assessment to fund either public infrastructure improvements or services. So they actually, down there, they actually have employees, that special improvement district has employees that take care of that area. Here, the idea is that the property owners in a geographical area would come together, look at what the cost is in terms of extending utilities to this area, and then agree to fund that cost through an assessment, which we more than likely would do as a property tax assessment over a certain period of time. And, the reason I'm being vague is I don't, it's what you want it to be, right? It could be for how long as you want it. It could be for as short as you want it, or for how much as you want it to be. So that geographical area, the property owners would petition the trustees to create a special improvement district. And, that special improvement district then operates as a not-for-profit corporation. It's kind of like a civic association or a homeowners association, but not really, but it is a not-for-profit corporation. And you have a board of directors. Now the township would have a seat on your board of directors. But the main purpose is to try to help fund the public infrastructure, which in this case would be the extension of utilities. And under the law, it takes 70, whatever your geographical area is that you want to get the utilities to, it takes 75% of those property owners to agree to sign the petition to create the special improvement district. You take that petition, you file it with the board of trustees. The board of trustees has 60 days to look at the petition. And determine whether it meets all the requirements under the law, and here it would, because we've already pretty much done it for another area. So you'd just be using kind of the documents that have already been created. And then the trustees approve the petition. And then the documents get filed with the Secretary of State's office, because you're a not-for-profit corporation and you hold a meeting, and then, so that's kind of the process. But it is a mechanism through the law that allows a geographical area, those property owners, to determine what it is that we want, what public improvement we want, how much do we want to pay for it, and how long do we want it to be. Doesn't have to be forever. And my guess is in this particular case, it wouldn't be forever. It would be probably until whatever the cost is, to fund the infrastructure is paid off, and then it would go away.
Why wouldn't you want it to go forever?
That's up to you. I mean, if the sole purpose is to, get the utilities there. And at that point, Columbus would maintain them at that point. I don't know why you would keep the assessment going forever, because at some level.
Well, aren't you spreading out the payments over a longer?
You could be, yeah. I mean.
So that's the advantage, I guess, is if you extend the payments out forever. So when you sell your house, you're basically selling those additional fees onto the next homeowner, and you're not incurring it. So all the older folks here that, might be leaving their houses in the next 2 or 3 years, they're not gonna want to pay it all up front, right? Because
No, I don't disagree, and I don't know whether, I haven't discussed, I don't think we discussed it with Columbus, but they're probably gonna have an expectation of payment, to be made, within a certain period of time, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you. What I would say to Columbus is, well, let's make it as long as possible, right? But forever is a long time, right? Ultimately, it's going to get paid off. So like the one on Gay Street, that is pretty much perpetual because they got employees, they got services they want to provide. But I don't disagree with you. The longer we can get it, the less per year you're gonna have to pay, and it just spreads it out longer. So
And how many SIDS has the township done before?
0.
Okay.
We
We're the guinea pig, basically?
no, I wouldn't say you're the guinea pig. We have another one that we've done, that we're working on, that we've done the documents for.
So,
But yeah, it's, like I said, it's not common. There are only a couple of options to get utilities to you. And, this was the one that the city of Columbus, it was the most palatable to them.
because our neighborhood's kind of small, so the dollar per unit is gonna be a lot higher than if we had 100 homes in the neighborhood.
Sure.
Or whatever, 200 homes in the
I
neighborhood.
don't disagree with that.
Yeah, and, I'm thinking there's like 3 or 4 homes in the neighborhood that don't have, that are on well water and septic, okay, which is, I'm one of those. And one of those, just had their septic system replaced recently.
Yeah,
And mine's probably not gonna last forever, mine's 57 years old, so, you know,
yeah,
could go any day now, I could walk out there and there'd be a big hole in my side yard, but, and Frank might know the answer to this, but my understanding is the water connection runs between these two guys' property, I think, so, you know, there's a beeline from my house straight out to, Linworth, I think it's the water connection.
Yeah.
So it's really not that bad, now, getting from there to everybody else is a hassle.
Yeah, the
and-
water line is just parallel to Linwood. There's 2 of them on one on either side of the street. One's like a 12 inch and one's an 8 inch.
And the sewer, I think is just one property over. And when I was looking at replacing my septic system, I inquired about tapping in. And they said, the only problem is you can't cross anybody's property. And no one told me about this, otherwise I might have inquired about this, but, you know, so I don't have to go that far to get to sewer.
Sure.
And water is kind of a straight beeline to my house. Now, everybody else, I assume you'd have to tear up the streets to get to everybody ultimately, but. so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, and I could be wrong about this, I was told that, the Heightshusen's and Bree, I think maybe there's a water line back behind you guys somewhere, but I'm not sure of that, so.
yeah, I mean, the first thing that I would try to figure out is where, obviously where everything's at and how much it's gonna cost, right? And then,
So Pete, let me ask you this
Yeah.
question, because obviously all this is based upon where current infrastructure is and
Yeah.
how far it gets from point A to point B. Can the township, being that we're home rule, smallest one in the state, can we consider hiring an engineering firm to at
Yes.
least lay out? So that the residents wouldn't have to worry about, well, where's the water line? Where's the sewer line?
Sure.
How would you run those lines? What would the lines look like? That, the
What's the cost
engineering piece
estimate?
of it. You know,
Yes,
or I'm not gonna
absolutely.
speak on behalf of the board because it would take two,
Sure.
3 of us to do that. Could possibly consider, as the fiscal officer's giving it. Will cost money, obviously, to hire an engineering firm to do the drawings necessary to say, this is where everything is in. And if we were to put water lines or sewer lines in
the
there,
Columbus's
this is where we would
specifications.
run it, and you
Yeah.
have to meet their specifications because Columbus is not going to agree to it if you don't meet their specifications. And they would have to work with the city as well and the county sanitary engineer because that's their system too, so.
Yeah. The answer is yes, if the board decided to do that, you have the legal authority to.
Okay.
Excuse me, I was a little late, but, I assume you're talking about, Larkstone and,
Larkstone, Banbury, Haven Hill.
we're at Haven Hill, but there are also other properties, you know, I'm one, these guys have, where they're not part of that literal subdivision, so, you know, what are the sort of the fragment, there's, you know, a township is like Swiss cheese, there's lots of little pieces, so, you know, I'm curious as to what pieces we're talking about.
Yeah, so each SID has to be contiguous. So if there is, if I draw an area and these people aren't part of the SID, these people aren't part of the SID, these gotta be two separate SIDs.
Is it right away, prevented from being contiguous?
I don't know. What answer that question? So like, yeah, so if this was one big SID, that's great, right? But if there's space in between there, or if we, you know, if there's space in between it, these gotta be a SID A and a SID B.
When you say SID, are you saying?
Special Improvement District, SID. Yes, sorry.
Well, wait,
I don't know if right away would be enough.
we live in a place.
Well, yeah, city water, because the agreement that these guys talked about, that got put in place, allowed for that to happen. You know, the amount of money the city of Columbus wanted just for the privilege of putting it in was astronomical, but, yes, I have city of Columbus water, but I live in the township.
Yeah.
Now, but that brings up an issue, for me, at least, the question is, let's say there's 30 property owners in the SID. Some of them need water, some of them need sewer, some of them might need both. How is that seen, in terms of assessment?
So as part of the petition, you have to submit as part of your petition an improvement plan. Right, so my guess is you're gonna bust those costs out separately and they would be assessed separately. And I think again, that's where the engineer comes in handy.
Okay, so the assessment could be.
I think so, yes.
Okay, that helps.
We live, they came through a couple of years ago, 3 years
Yeah.
ago, 4 years ago. Surveyed our property, showed me where the manholes were gonna be and what trees they had to take out.
Yeah.
And then they kind of disappeared and they finished the Leakland.
Yeah, we weren't cost effective, so we are.
We were not, it wouldn't have been, we have 2 acres there and there's
Right.
property next to it, which is 4 acres. They just decided, well,
We can't do us.
we can't do you.
Now, water, we can get the
We
water.
can get water because it's across the
Talking
street from
about that,
him.
yeah,
Right.
there's water. But you know, the sewer they're talking about is on the other side of Kempton Run.
Right,
And
it's
it's
in Indian
connected
Hill.
to that Kempton Run subdivision. The problem is you have to go under,
Under the.
you have to go under the creek.
Excuse me, the manholes they showed me, they were going to run down the
Down
creek.
the creek.
They were gonna run east on the creek on our side. They were taking certain trees that they showed me.
There were gonna be 3 manholes on our property. Every time there's a turn, you have to do a manhole.
So then they just,
And then they just said,
But
forget
said we
it.
can't do this.
But I know that the sewer ends at the Kempton Run subdivision.
Yeah.
On the, because I haven't
In
surveyed.
Indian Hill.
On the other side, no, north of me, north of Kempton Run, it's right on the edge of the stream is where the manhole is.
How close are you to everybody else? You said that over.
we live across the street from each other.
Yeah, we're across the street, that's why I asked about, whether the SID, the right of way, separates.
Right, 'cause you-
I think we could probably draw it as one. Yeah.
Well, our
If it's just-
property, we have
If
old,
it's just right
we
away.
have old subdivisions, so our property goes to the center line anyway. We don't really own it, but there's no right of way for Lindbergh there.
Are you
Easement.
platted? Are you platted?
Yeah, it's an easement, these are old lot, we live on old lots.
Okay.
So are you?
So you
you're
own
not
to the
in
center
three-
line?
You're not part of the three streets that we're
No,
talking about,
no.
so where are you guys?
We're on Lynn.
Right, off Linwood.
We're on Linwood Road.
Yeah, the house with the curved
In
roof and
Linwood.
the-
We're two,
the
we're
neon
the second
front.
lot, no, it's not a lot, it's a second.
Are you on the west side
You own
of?
the center
We're
line.
on
We're
the
on the
east
east
side.
side.
Well,
East side of
yes,
the road.
your property line goes to south.
On the other side.
That helps.
We're on the west side of Linwood, we're on the east
A
side.
couple of things you said, Grace, a
Yes.
couple of questions.
Sure.
I'd like to approach it
But one straight across.
with a hypothetical scenario. You had said that
Oh, yeah.
75% of the people in the SID
By the tree.
need to approve it for it to happen.
So this doesn't affect that.
Now, there may be people in there that don't want it and don't want the water or the whatever.
Yeah.
Is there, in terms of assessing this, is there a separate assessment for putting the infrastructure in and connecting it to the infrastructure?
The tap fee, it's how you guys want it to operate. So the plan could be whatever you want. But my guess is you probably wouldn't include
Service line.
the service line.
So like Meekland, the city of Columbus put in a new sanitary on Meekland, right?
Yes.
And then, and I assume, I don't know how they did that through, assessment or not. But I know that individually, everyone had to run their service lines.
Yes.
And I suspect this would be the same way.
Well, again,
That wouldn't make sense. If
It-
it doesn't include the service line. Why, so let's just say 75% of us voted yes, okay? And, but then people didn't want to put in the service line, so they weren't gonna pay for that part of it. If they knew they had to pay for it, they wouldn't vote yes, because they don't want to be taxed and not get taxed without representation. I don't get service because I'm not connected. So they're only gonna vote yes. They're only gonna be one of the 75% if they know it's gonna include the tap.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, yeah, but does it have to be that way? No, it doesn't.
No, I
But
understand
agree,
that,
it makes
but
sense.
you'd be crazy to vote
That's
that
interesting.
any other way.
I don't disagree.
I've never seen it done, what the way you're talking about, but it's interesting.
Well, I've been through this once before. When we lived,
Yeah.
you had the option, if you had a mortgage, of tacking this onto your mortgage. And that way, when you sell the house, your part of it gets paid off and the next owner.
Yeah,
Is that a possibility?
that can be on your mortgage.
Not necessarily, maybe that's the wrong choice of
Tax.
words.
It lean, probably.
It is,
It's gonna be an annual assessment that you would pay as part of your property taxes.
okay, so it's not, okay, because,
Now, whether or not where you at in your mortgage and whether your mortgage pays your,
Yeah.
I don't know.
no, we don't have a mortgage, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so you would,
Yeah, I mean, whatever you would do would take away from the profits that you get when you sell your house, so that wouldn't make any sense. You're better off just kicking this as far down as Columbus will let us kick it down. And then when you sell your house is worth more because now you have city water and city sewer and they're paying for it, not you. Yeah, so you're giving your money to your grandkids or whatever and you're done.
So this would be a Columbus City project, is that correct?
Uh,
They would build it. They
ultimately,
would,
yes,
they would build it.
yes.
And so they would upfront fund it. And
Well,
then this amortizes that debt. This SID amortizes the debt on the.
City is not going to upfront pay for it.
Then we have to, we have to monetize
Correct.
the assessment.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a load there, a
Yeah.
cost to that.
If there is. Yeah, this is not, City of Columbus made it very clear,
I see.
we're granting you the authority to receive our services.
Right.
And you'll receive them at a rate that is a non-city resident that everybody else uses. So Dublin and Westerville and Worthington residents all are on that same rate because none of them have their own water and sewer service. They all get it from the City of Columbus. They all have a contract with the City of Columbus, just like we do. So all of that, however, what they have versus what we don't have is the ability to raise money for infrastructure.
Well, Columbus has three levels of,
They have
in the
more
city
than
of
three.
Columbus- In the city of Columbus, under contract with the city of Columbus
Mhm.
and out of contract. When I did it, I was out of contract, so it was the most expensive,
To be honest with you, they have about 12.
they had about 12.
Yeah.
I was 17.
They've made it as complicated as possible.
Yeah.
All right, so Frank knows more about this than I do. So let's just say it costs $1 million to do this. So, and you're saying this money is not spread out over a long time. So we have to pay all this up front. How do we go about doing that?
Or finance it.
Okay, all right. And so the interest on that is, we're paying for that.
Yes,
Okay.
you're gonna float a bond.
This room of people. is paying for it.
Yeah.
I think you've got all the investors sitting right here. This is a board meeting.
Yeah, you did your water on your own, right?
I did, yes.
So,
So what?
What do you hope
It
it's
was 30, it was $30,000.
I know,
Was that to tap it or to put a tap in and then
That
bring it
was
to
the
your?
tap and the line and
the whole
the
shebang.
whole shebang to get it.
I looked into this one, years ago, and it was going to be, I have 400 feet on
Yeah,
Linwood
we had to
Road.
pay front.
And it was going to be $10 a front foot
As I did.
just for the right.
Back.
Right,
yeah.
well,
Join.
9,000 of the $30,000 was that.
Then
So
bring
right.
it back to the house.
County
and do your
Department of Health have
interior
any
shop.
types of programs to get people off of,
Yeah, if their system is failing.
only if it's valid?
Say that again? I missed that.
I'm sorry. He asked me if Franklin County Public Health has any programs. to do this.
Yeah,
We've had, septic systems that have failed.
yeah.
And there is money through Ohio EPA that Franklin County Public Health is the agent in for Franklin County.
It's based on.
So there's a
income
there's a
level, isn't it?
pass through
Or something.
of that. So
I'm pretty
it's
sure.
like it can be a 90-10 split, an 80-20 split. It's income based.
Yeah,
But
So,
there they
money
funded
is
the
available.
project.
Huh?
But at least in Franklin Township, they funded the project.
To repair the.
They could have done that too.
yeah.
But the SID, and the best point, to send me a note, that the SID can make application for that money too.
Cause, you know, I was told I was a no-go for two reasons. One is I had to cross over other people's property and they said, that's the end of that. And I also inquired about whether there's any funding through Ohio EPA or whomever, and they said, yeah, but it's income-based and, you know, unless you're retired, you're not gonna qualify.
Unless you are an entity like a SID that can make application directly to Ohio.
Right, correct.
How can we be sure that it could include the service lines? Because
How
I
can you be
agree that if
sure?
the service lines aren't included in it, all it does is give us the potential for the utility, but then we have to, out of our own pockets, connect to it.
How do you ensure? I think it's part of your improvement plan as part of the SID petition.
So it can be.
So whatever you guys, so, yes. So when you submit your petition, there is an improvement plan.
Okay, so
part of it
if you
that
hire
you're
a
gonna
civil,
submit for.
you hire a civil to figure it all out
Yeah, right.
and to determine where all the service lines have to go, like on Meekland, they had to go in the backyards
Yes.
of every house. So determines all that, comes up with an OPC opinion of probable cost for all this stuff. And then the SID is then crafted on an individual property basis based on their pro rata share of the overall cost. All right, got it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got it. Everybody else,
I do this stuff, so.
Yeah.
I understand.
Chet, if there was a way that EPA backs a sewer system failing, is there a way for our well systems that are going down and failing for them to jump in on this at all? Is there any way to, why not?
First of all, Ohio EPA is the agent. They are a pass-through to the federal government. Because the federal government determines what the rules are. What they're attempting to do is not so much the water. They want to get everybody on sanitary sewer systems. That is the most health dangerous situation. So that is the priority of that money. So that's where you get into Franklin County Public Health, evaluating systems, whether they're failing or not, because there is a limited amount of money.
I
Federal
understand
money
that.
gives 50 states, 4 territories, to go and get divvied up, so.
I understand that. Is there a reason our water levels are lowering?
Don't know.
Are they lowering? Is that facts?
I don't know.
So I'll go on the inside.
Mine is.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Are your water pressures lowering?
I mean, if our aquifer is running dry, that's kind of a cataclysmic deal for
Yeah.
Greater Columbus in general, so maybe that's the
Well-
first thing we check out.
I mean, I don't know if your water well levels are going down, which I don't know. We've never hired anybody to go out and evaluate where they are and that kind of thing. It would take a professional firm to come out to do that. And it could also be your particular well. I don't know. I mean, it could be your well pump, where your home is situated, where the well's situated. I don't know, it could be 20 different things. I mean, I'm looking at Andy because he's got more experience in this than I do, but that would be another question we'd have to explore, but
I think I have the second newest well in the neighborhood, and, I would think that when mine was put in, obviously they drill until they get to the pressure they want.
How deep?
I think mine was about 80. Don't quote me on that, but
What area?
probably 60 to 80 sounds about
What
right.
area?
What's that?
What street?
At the end of the.
The very end of Haven Hill, the two-story at the end.
That's all real good aquifer there. I dealt with a couple of geologists and some well drillers, and that's actually a really healthy aquifer. And it's really clean water because it's got a really fine sandstone filter. So people are spraying Roundup in their yards and stuff's leaking like these old septic systems. The toxins are kind of geostatic and they don't move around much because of that subterranean. But wells could be drilled deeper if they go dry. I've never heard of a well going dry around here. I guess you said a couple did. If you pound down another 100 or 50 feet, you probably hit water. They're good aquifers. But everybody wants to get water. Is that pretty much it? No. Okay, it's about half and half.
We recently had a purification system put in, which is ultraviolet. And we're very happy. I mean, I feel very
The
comfortable.
75% would almost end this meeting. If this is the percentage that showed up from that letter, the wants and the don't wants, and then you're saying 75% you have to fund this whole thing?
the 75% have to adopt.
Correct. Basically, you're signing the petition.
Okay. To pay the money to get.
Or should be here, or, I don't even know what roads, this is Larkstone and I know where.
How many homes are on there?
There's something like.
It's approximately 43 homes.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah, now that she's approximately.
Maybe.
So basically, we won't vote on the 75% until we know what the cost is.
Oh, there's a lot, I mean, this is just,
Informational.
this is purely informational and, you know, that's a ways away.
Yeah.
Is this like Sid's program with Columbus, is this forever, or could they just say, we changed our mind, and we don't want to do this anymore?
This one's forever.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And this doesn't change your school district or your school system or nothing,
No.
right? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
It'll change your property tax.
That will.
To sum this up, so you would have to propose, you guys would have to get a geologist or whatever you call those people, an engineering firm to go and say, okay, this is gonna cost you $10 million. That creates the SID, right? And then,
Well, I would ask the board to consider, I mean, we don't know what that cost would be, so I can't speak on behalf of the board, okay? But if I was moving forward on this project, I would get a civil engineering firm to come in Tell me where all the existing infrastructure is, where the new infrastructure would have to be laid to service the homes, and how much each house would have to be assessed based upon size of property, distance of property from main lines and that kind of thing.
Okay, so let's say that comes up and it's 10 million bucks, then the SID gets created. If it was approved, then somebody has to go to the bank. I'm pointing at you because you're the attorney, right? You have to go to the bank and
I'm
get.
not a public finance.
Yeah, and get the 10 million bucks to pay the city to put it in, then we all have to fix our own driveways and yards and all that other crap once they run it in, right? Then this thing starts paying, we start paying to cover that loan
That
over
obligation.
probably 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it.
I don't need to worry about that.
No, you don't. Most of us don't.
I have a question about what he said. Is that the case that, that we would have to fix our own yards and driveways, or how does that work?
No, it could be lumped into. the
Okay,
contract.
all right.
Yeah, I mean, whatever damage they do, it would all be fixed and put back. I mean, you're not getting new driveways, you get a.
Right, yeah.
Whatever they disturb, it would be done.
And Ron, you share a driveway with the Heights Citizens.
Yeah,
So there would have to be that cost, like we share a driveway with three other properties.
Right, yeah, yeah.
So that would be a separate.
Yeah.
So are we looking at years for you to even get this even get it rolling?
Yeah.
No?
Okay.
How soon?
I would probably say months, but not years.
No, it's not gonna be.
Yeah.
I would just say, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing, which kind of comes first. You certainly want to know the cost of this, and, it's like anything, else, it costs money to find out the cost. And it wouldn't be cheap, and so the township is considering, well, geez, do we pay for that cost to help you make an educated decision, do you want this for your area? But, if only 30% or 40% of the people want it, it might not be worth it while going forward if it has no chance to get to the 75% number.
Yeah.
So I think it's like anything else, this was sort of the initial meeting to talk about it. Talk about this as a group, you can send a representative to meetings but I think we'd like to get some sense of what percent of the 43 homes, basically if you got 43, you need about 32, I think, if my math's right, for 75%. But, you can almost take like a bit of a straw poll and see if it's close and, okay, some people are gonna be, it's like anything else. I don't want this no matter what. Some people want this and especially if we can amortize the cost, divide that by 43 homes, divide that by 30 years, divide that by 12 months, and it costs, I don't know, $100 a month for a multi-million-dollar system.
How could we take a straw poll if we don't know what it would cost?
Well, we'd have to find out the range, I think. But like I said, I got the sense that some people won't want this at all. And again, you just have to, I think, I don't even know how much it would cost yet to do the study.
I mean, for instance, if we were to spend $50,000, these are taxpayer dollars, okay, so we're pretty frugal, okay, first of all, we try to be responsible because this is your money as well as our money, we pay those taxes. And so if we were gonna pay $50,000 for a study, I don't know that's the number. Then the question becomes, where Ms. Roper's saying this is kind of the chicken and the egg. Well, we're gonna spend that because we already know that, only 20% of you really want this. I mean, in that case, we're just spending bad money. So we kind of generally want to know if you were to take the money out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, for right now, just for hypothetical purposes, because money's gonna factor in eventually here. But if you were to take it out, because the study's not done, how many of you would be willing to vote for a SID or to be part of a SID, understanding it would come with some cost yet to be determined?
Let me just throw something out here. If I'm one of the older neighbors and I'm a year or two out from moving out of my house, and I'll just say, I'm kind of in favor of this, okay, so I'm not coming at it from trying to block it here, but if I'm, you
And I
know, 2
appreciate
years
that.
from moving out, I'd be like, I'm probably not gonna have to pay a dime, and I'm voting yes, and it's gonna immediately increase the value of my property. Why wouldn't I do it? You know, the people who are gonna be here longer, which might be me, might wanna reconsider that, but even that, you know, if it's, you know, yeah, okay, we're financing this over 30, 50 years or whatever, we'll all be gone and our property will be worth more. So I think that, you know, why would we say no to authorizing you to spend the 25 to 50,000 to do the engineering study? It's just information, costs us nothing. We're sharing the cost of this with the rest of the townships. I don't see why would you would say no? More information is better than none, right?
Well, more information is better than none. We agree with that, but we also want to know kind of how you all are feeling.
Well, you know.
I mean, whether or not you would go along with it.
I think what you need is a civil engineer who knows the area and ask them for what's called a back of the napkin.
I understand that.
And I think you can get that for a lot less than $50,000. I think you could get that for something under 10. And now it's not, it's like atom bomb, you know, it's only close.
It's only as good as.
Yeah,
what is-
but it's at least something more than guessing. And I don't think it would cost that much, because they're just gonna say, oh, this is how many linear feet you need of this is how many linear feet of that, they're gonna throw a number on it. And then multiply.
I know a guy that did about 10 homes on Postal Way, and I could talk to him and he'll tell me how much he paid. And that's 10 homes, that's like a quarter of the project.
Yeah, I mean, that, you hit it right on the head, that's exact, I mean, it's not gonna be, they're not designing the system, it's literally gonna be, okay, we have this, like, we're gonna bring it up here, it's gonna attach, it's a linear foot, they have costs that they know, they'll probably add a contingency to it, you know, probably 15 to 20%, but it's gonna give you all the number that then we can start saying, okay, if we were to do this over, you know, 30 years or 40 years or however long the city of Columbus do it, and then it helps us kind of understand what the costs are, help you guys understand what the costs are. I think what Mr. Roper was saying that is like, is this something that is worth, I guess, like, what are you guys saying, yeah, go ahead and do it, and then we'll go ahead and get it done and
But I think a lot of you, I mean, it's a big difference. Is this gonna cost 2 million, 5 million, 10 million? That's a staggering difference when you know, amortize it over 43 homes and, you know, like anybody else, you wanna make an informed decision, right? So, again, I do kind of like the idea of getting a ballpark figure. I know a lot of times engineering outfits are kind of reluctant to do that because it's always unknown. But I think we could get something that's whatever, 70% of the ballpark or something along those lines. And, you know, without going crazy and actually designing a system, but just give a rough idea. And that's a good example of the gentleman there who knows the 10 homes.
I mean,
You know, and that gives you a rough idea too. And, you know, it's all based on linear feet. And so on and so.
And depth.
If you get it done now, though, it'll still be good in 10 years because the property is gonna change. So why would, you know what I mean? If you get a legit thing and it doesn't go
yeah,
out.
it's just the unit cost or the linear foot
Yeah.
costs are gonna
Someday,
change, go up and
10
down.
years from now, the people that live there might want, it if it doesn't happen this.
I guarantee it'll cost a whole lot more money 10 years.
Oh. Talking about just for the lines and that.
Oh, yeah.
Where they map the lines out.
Engineering stuff.
Yeah, engineering.
Environmentally, it's much better to not have septic systems and not have wells. Okay, it's fundamentally better to have the city service. It's just, it costs money.
Yeah, well, that's what, and I'd give all the credit to Chet to, you know, we're trying to figure out creative ways to get this done. Most townships I can't actually compete, I can't think of another township that could probably come up with a way to do this. You know, we're a little unique because some townships, everybody's got water and sewer. 90% of ours, 95% of ours does, probably 98%. So we're trying to figure out a way for everybody to do that, and, you know, we're paying Pete money to, you know, to come up with the SID idea and, you know, and
Well,
Chet's negotiated a good deal with Columbus that allows us to do this, but like anything else, it comes with a cost, so. You know, the Gay Street's a perfect example. I'm sure there's some businesses there that are like, we don't want to pay for this. And a lot of other businesses are thriving. I was there actually on that street today and I'm like, man, look at this new Hank's restaurant and all this development. And they're gonna even make it more so with this Coda corridor, this tree line. Then that used to be a junky one-way street.
Yeah.
And it's completely changed because of it. That's a completely different thing that we're talking about here, but again, you had to know what the cost of that, all those businesses, if they wanted to make an informed decision on going forward.
Haven Hill Marks don't already have sanitary, so it's really just water.
Right.
Water is a lot cheaper than sanitary, believe me. So, you know, I would say that it's worth it for people that, I have water, but no sanitary, so. And some of us here don't have sanitary, so that's a different
If you
situation.
hook on, do you have to cap your well?
I'm sorry?
If you hook onto the water, do you have to cap your well? Or
Yes.
Can you keep your well?
Unless
Yes.
I can tell you what the story is. You can keep it if you add a backflow preventer, into your system.
Okay.
Yeah, you
And
could
have
do
it
that.
inspected every year and pay $50 a year to have it.
And on the sanitary side of things, you do have to abandon that system,
That's correct.
and that has to be inspected if you were to go into a sanitary sewer line. So,
I know you can keep your well because people do that for irrigation.
Sure.
And then, you know, but you don't want that water to ever get into your other water, so you have to have a separate, you know, backflow preventer. And once a year, I think it's in May usually, they have to recertify that. Well, let's leave it at this. We got a lot of other stuff. I know you guys probably want to get home for dinner and whatnot. Let us look into seeing if we can get a back of the napkin ballpark estimate. Obviously, keep the conversation going. Feel free to send a representative, you know, or we can send out information to you. Beth can send out information to you. Yes, sir.
Why was never any, fire hydrants put up on Marchstone and the rest of Haven Hill and Burbank? Banbury. Fire prevention.
Nothing will come out if you turn them on.
No water line. No fire hydrants. You gotta string it from, Lenworth Road all the way up to the end. Yep.
Because you don't have any water.
We don't have
You
water.
don't have
Yeah.
water.
You put a fire hydrant in.
Fire hydrant, right along the Lenworth Road. They gotta hook up to the lines.
Right, but they can't run it any further than that without cost.
Right.
That's what we're talking
You
about.
cannot put another fire hydrant on or Larkstone, you can't put one. Don't get nervous about it, okay? I've had this conversation with the fire chief so many times. So, because every time I come down your way, I get asked this question. When are we gonna get a fire hydrant, blah, blah, blah. My house catches on fire. Fire chief assures me that they have plenty of hose to run from Linworth to your house. On top of that, they have pumper trucks.
Yes.
Don't worry, unless you had like a 10-story building down there, you're good. And I didn't see any 10-story buildings last time I was down there, so.
I just have one other question about the contiguous thing. I was told that our neighborhood used to have a homeowners association and it included some homes on the other side of Linwood.
Right.
What was it called? Okay. I don't know if they're in the same situation as us, but crossing over Linworth, does that mean that they're not contiguous with us or?
I think we'd be okay,
Okay.
but I don't know if they're subject to our.
Actually Sharon Township.
Oh.
Yeah.
So no, they wouldn't be
No.
subject to our agreement with city.
Well, but we might want, if they were part of Perry, it might be advantageous to include them.
They're not included in the agreement.
Well,
The agreement is very clear. It has a map.
Okay,
That takes.
so it's these 40 homes.
Ron, before you go any further, first of all, Beth is gonna send around a couple lists. Please sign this before you leave, so we can make sure we got everybody's
Yeah, if you can
email.
give me your email,
contact
that way it's
information.
easier for me to kind of share.
But Ron,
information
to your,
and
to your point, the agreement has this map and it's appendices of the agreement. It's color coded, it's all that lovely stuff. And we tried to expand that map as much as we could.
Okay, so it's the
Um,
40 homes we're talking about,
It
basically.
really is,
Okay,
yeah.
great, gotcha.
Can we
Can
find
we
out?
poll
if they
those
are?
folks? Can we send something around and ask a simple question? Would you be interested in? And can we get some rough idea whether we're down at 30% or up at 70%?
Sure.
Wouldn't that be one of the first things to do?
I'm sorry, can we see
Yes.
who we are, like a map of
A list.
who we are?
It's one of the things that we could do, yes.
I mean. if
I
things
have
like
the
that,
information from the
even before
sanitary
you take
engineers,
it
that's kind of how we nailed everything out to you folks, was that
But I
information.
think that'd be a good way to start, just because that way, Beth can get you some basic information about what's all included here. It'd be really nice, somebody can host something at their house, circulate something amongst the neighborhood where you talk about this. In the meantime, we can figure out if we can get somebody to provide us with rough ideas of cost, but to get started in the process. Have a neighborhood chat group about this, or, however you wanna organize yourself.
Can we
What
get,
about
can we get the
finding
map
out-
of the 40 homes that we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
Beth can get that out.
We're gonna get it out.
And then, if you wanna, like I said, sort of elect maybe a chairman, or we could just send it out to people on this email list, you can make a group for this, so you're a part of that. But it's almost easier to rather than responding to 30 or 40 individual people. Somebody should disseminate the information, because not everybody's here on this. But we'll get you more information. This was just an information sort of exchange system.
What about the engineering and the extensive drawing and everything they did for the Meekland area, which included my property? What they were telling me, there were these manholes were gonna be, sewer manholes. Whatever happened to that, would that be included in in our study?
I'll confess, I know nothing about that project, how much that was gonna cost, why it didn't go
Who
forward.
did it?
Well, it was the county.
Franklin County Sanitary Sewer. Okay. Let's be called the sanitary engineer. We'll try to find out if that exists, where.
I mean, they put in the stakes, it was, and they pointed out that there would be trees that they would have to take out. Here's where the manhole will go, 3 of them on our property. Now, the next question I have is, what if we had, my neighbor has 4 acres, I think it is, we have. So that's sell, and they decided to put in 10 condominiums or whatever they do. Would that developer have to pay for hooking up to all the sewers and all that stuff?
Yeah.
How's that go?
They probably have.
If you're talking about selling your property and then
Well, it'd have to be the neighbor, I mean, my 2 acres wouldn't be enough to.
developers are generally responsible for putting in the infrastructure, and then that cost rolls into the
No, okay.
price.
Okay, thank you.
But the good news is a group of 43 is pretty manageable. If this were gonna be like in a Brookside neighborhood where you have hundreds of homes, that's a whole different ballgame. So, I think it'd be easier for you folks to kind of, figure out what the support level is, and I understand completely you need information from us, and we will provide that to you so you can make more informed decisions on this. But before the big picture is before the township spends a lot of money, we're certainly willing to spend some money so you guys can make an informed choice. But it's gotta be close. I mean, if it's less than half, it's like, maybe this will go nowhere. If it's 50 or 60%, and somebody understands all the benefits of it, and they know the cost and all that kind of stuff, maybe you can bump it up, so. We'll kind of see how that shakes out, but again, Beth is phenomenal at sending out information. And we'll get that to you as much as we can, and we'll just have a back and forth conversation about it,
The rest of the township, I know we're in pockets of it all. Have they always had water, or have they gone through this?
Well, it's different, depends, I mean, in Worthington Hills, we have a completely separate water system. And, we pay high rates, I think, for our sewer system, because we tap into Franklin County sewer, but, you know, Brookside has,
We have Columbus City Water, and it was part of an old agreement that dates back to when the neighborhood was developed. But we still have some folks that are on wells. That have not. Mhm.
but, you know, like Worthington Hills, I'm guessing is probably 60% of the township, 50%, maybe Brookside's 30. Those are on completely different water systems, so there's no one, you know.
But did they tap in? I mean, did they originally have a well and tap in?
Well, Worthington Hills, is my understanding, was developed, you know, in the late sixties, and that was a giant farmland, and that was all in Perry Township, but that's why it's just odd that you have a separate water and sewer provider, but that's just the way it is, and we'll never get Columbus Water, I don't think, in Worthington Hills. So we're kind of stuck with Aqua, and then, you know, Aqua is, I just talked to them about, you know, 99% of Aqua, they charge a sewer rate with that because they own the sewer system, but they don't own the sewer system for us. It's all different. But thanks for coming. We'll get this information out to you folks. Send a representative, you know, to our meeting. It's always the first and third Monday of the month, and we'll just keep the dialogue going.
If we wanted to reserve this room, like for a community meeting, we could do that, okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't want anything to do with this, do you?
Take care. Thank you.
Pretty quick.
Hi, thank you.
Across the street is.
All right, we're gonna jump back on schedule here for the folks that are staying and get through it, because at the end, coming attractions, we're gonna go into executive session with Pete, so Pete can just hang here for the rest of the meeting. Public comment period, Brookside.
Garage sales coming up on the. I gave that to you already. And that's, we're still having, as you may be aware, you know, we keep getting more reports about the particular blue Subaru.
Yeah.
Speeding down and blowing through the stop signs. Yeah. And maybe you already, just something that we were able to do, but based on that, license plate and everything that was provided, can we send a letter? We're not allowed to do that anymore? We raised our family.
Well, we have, I mean, we can't take a citizen complaint and act on it without one of us.
Even if there's video footage. I mean, just, I thought we used to have something where we would send a letter just saying, you know, there's been concerns about speeding in the area kind of
We
thing.
should say that. I mean, in
Right.
general terms.
I mean, not like.
Yeah, so to speak, I think we could probably do something like that,
I don't know if it ends up adding value, but.
but the issue is
Change car.
the license plate to where the car comes back to does not go back to that address. So
Perfect.
sending a letter is kind of
Okay.
a moot point.
All right. Okay.
Worthington Hills.
All's great. July 4th,
45 miles an hour.
yeah. July 4th, planning is underway, been underway. You know, I think Charlie's got everything. I know that Sergeant Miller's gonna be having a conversation with staff tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a meeting
Okay.
tomorrow.
To wrap things up,
First
get
responders.
things in order. I know that I talked with Chief Zambito, who was on vacation, unfortunately, had a father on vacation. So I know that fire trucks, probably the pumper and the EMS truck will be there. You guys are painting a plow. They're gonna have horses and the fingerprint thing. So I think everything's been set for you guys for Fun Fest.
The kids are.
Kids are-
Oh.
No, oh, no, they're not. No, but, and we're still talking with fireworks company board. We should-
It's the paint the file.
So, other than that,
Look side kids.
I think we're, door-to-door salespeople. Okay. I got a question. At one point in time, we had those stickers, it says non-solicitation stickers. Do we ever have those anymore?
I have 5 left at my house.
Like I said, I don't think we have any. We probably can get more made, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll check with Luke, but I don't think, because he was putting them in the welcome packets.
That's what I just gave out to
Yeah.
them. I don't think we have them anymore.
Yeah, I think we're out of them.
And honestly, I mean, here's what I want people to get from that. One, I want the people that either don't have a permit or have a Columbus permit, to know that they're in Perry Township. And two, for the residents, to stop. Great, it's great that they call me, that's wonderful, but I'd rather them call you. And say, hey, because by the time they call me, you know how this works.
Yeah.
It's an hour later,
Yes,
and then I call you, and then it's 2 hours, and then the person's already gone. So it's like, I'd rather them go right to you right away. kind of.
well, always push them to our non-emergency number.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
If
that's
that
what I mean.
sticker could have the non-emergency number on it.
Well, I thought
Something
the-
to give
I thought
them
the
and
stickers,
say,
were-
hey.
no, I
And
thought the
that
stickers,
have the non-emergency.
yeah, the stickers were for the doors that say don't
I
enter
know.
our door.
But it's for, I need them to be reminded as a resident,
Right, and no, I get that, but and we can.
but the stickers are for the people coming around.
Yeah.
Can we look at that sticker? I think it needs to be reworded,
Okay,
to help the resident deal with a salesperson, because the salesperson is not gonna read non-solicitation,
Right.
they're gonna ring the doorbell.
yeah,
But it helps the resident that when they're answering the door to go,
yeah,
oh,
that's
so you
exactly,
have a permit, and if you don't have a permit, call this
Yes.
number.
yeah,
And it gets them away. And I think that's the problem, is that nobody has it, and I think more people would put that, I would definitely do it, because we do it
Yes.
all the time, and it's like, but they're trying to explain it to the vendor, and a lot of them are college kids, and
Yes.
think that they can just say, hey, here, call that number, but until you
Yeah,
have a
that's what I'm
permit,
saying, yeah.
don't buy.
So, and to Andy's point, they're first gonna say, oh yeah, I got a permit, my boss has it,
Yeah.
which they really don't.
right,
And then even if they did, it's for Columbus, it's not
Yes.
for us. So, but Andy's point, the resident needs some direction to something to
oh,
be
yeah,
back on.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
just think it needs to be reworded, because it was
Yeah.
just like no solicitation. I mean, I remember I had one
Yeah,
on my, and
Spread the
it
word.
just, it doesn't,
Doesn't
it's like,
help.
okay, great, no
Yeah.
solicitation, but it's like, I think it just needs,
It doesn't
Hey, help me
stop the
out.
people that are.
right.
Correct.
doing it anyway.
Right.
And I, again, without the sticker being huge, if there was a way to reference somehow the fact that people like the idea of like, if you're raising money for the school, those kinds of things. I know some folks have added something under our sticker about, kids supporting their school. Yeah, kind of thing, or
The
welcome.
mulch,
And I don't know if that's possible. So
Right.
that's just a, perhaps.
Well,
let's
let's look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the day, probably the lawyers are gonna have to get involved.
Make sure the exceptions are properly worded.
Right.
Make it simple, easy to understand language.
Pete, I got yours.
Don and Rovello.
Let's see, roads got transferred, second half of F9.
Yeah, phase 2 and 3.
Beth and I met with the new HOA president last Thursday, great guy,
Who is it?
Steve Schoenfeld. So he's just kind of getting his feet under him, so their biggest issue was fence. Castle property, something else, I don't know, what else?
I do want to note for the record that at the turnover meeting, the chief was a rock star. So I
Thank
heard
you
nothing
very much.
but great compliments
Good,
from somebody at my firm who conducted the turnover meeting, that he did a bang up job.
tell Mr. Johnson thank you.
Yes.
That's what.
And he was signing autographs afterwards and everything on no solicitation stickers,
Yes.
personal cell phone number.
Well, I didn't have hard to say it's Mr. Cheney's cell phone, but yeah, that's when you get so many calls.
Zoning.
Keith gave me a list. Andy, you want me to go through it?
Yeah, if you want that.
Okay. Top of the list is, he texted me while we were, meeting with these folks. The chickens are now gone. He gave them until today and, he got a message from the gentleman over there that the chicken's gone. So one down. The Henderson development, final development plans were submitted and have been distributed. Did you folks all get a copy of those?
Yeah, you
What's that?
do
The
it.
Henderson,
Yeah, I did.
okay,
Okay.
Yep.
Going in.
yeah, they're gonna schedule a commission meeting probably in mid to late June. He emailed the civil engineer today to see if whether or not we're holding up the process. No response so far. Let's see, the Brookside Chickens, and then the Castle House. The nuisance letter he's working with Jen on, that some things need to be added, so we couldn't get it on the agenda tonight as much as we would like to have been able to do that. So that,
Excellent.
on the next one, we'll have it ready for the next one. And he hadn't closed the file, but there were things in the original nuisance letter that weren't in what needs to happen this number. Let's see, the BZA meeting, regarding the fence at the Worthington Hills is this Wednesday at 6:30. Let's see.
Good ball. Piece of ball.
And I, at the end of the year, it seems that I didn't ask for some reappointments from our zoning board, which was brought to my attention, so real quickly, I would like to have a motion to reappoint Bud Cotter to the BZA January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2026.
Make that motion.
Second. Vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Reappoint James Kent to the BZA January 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2026.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Vote.
Yeah.
And finally, reappoint Lucy Plahy to the zoning commission January 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2026.
I will also make that motion.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I think we covered all of his bases.
Road department.
No update on the salt barn. I am gonna try to get Eric from Easy Done or Eli at the next meeting to provide an update. Then traffic calming policy. I don't know if anyone's reviewed it,
You want me
want
on
to
this?
discuss it?
You want to meet on this?
I would like to.
That'd be wonderful. I tell you what, I'll send you you want to do it after the holiday?
The Christmas.
Oh.
Next week.
So we have a holiday? Sure.
Hey,
So,
I like a suggestion.
Yeah.
Can we set up a meeting in Eagle Brookside? I mean, we just set
All
a
of Brookside?
meeting like that, to
Over at
meet on
elementary
the
school?
bioswale thing, like we made it like that. It was like, can we just meet with Brookside? I wanna get us, I like to talk about traffic, because it seems like all of our traffic policy is McVeigh. I cannot recall another issue that we have outside of McVeigh. Correct?
So how do you want
But I wanna share like information, like with, like, we have collected a bunch of data, but I don't think we've ever been in front of whoever is concerned to say, hey, here's the data that we collected. Here's the issues that we have, that we see in terms of calming. I'm just like. Do you have a problem with that?
I don't.
Do you have
I
a
mean-
problem with that?
No, not
Do you
at all.
have a
No,
problem with
I
that?
would love it because what it feels like is
Oh, yeah.
I'm the one that has to keep navigating those concerns. And I think, you know, if we have concerns about the potential of some traffic calming, then let's talk to the residents about what our concerns are and why we think, you know, it's good, bad, and different, whatever the case, and let them have the opportunity to respond. So, I mean,
I'd like to talk to them, the reason why we need a policy. I mean, if we're to do anything, we need a policy of some sort to move forward, but I'm
But
happy.
maybe that policy can be informed by hearing what folks are experiencing.
Well, this is exactly what we did for the Korean church. We did
Right.
that.
Yeah,
We were at the school.
I'm good
They
with
were
that.
very
If you wanna-
cooperative. Gotta set it out enough that we can make sure we have like updated information, you know, and maybe
Mhm.
we do another quickie, you know, with the.
But does
What,
it,
you mean the signs? They
They go
report every week.
constant.
It's weekly. We get report. I can get a daily report, so it'll be accurate.
We probably just need to compile something that is,
Well, I don't think we can do that during the
Focused.
school year, if it's problematic, you know.
I mean, the school year is over
Right.
next week, right, or this week?
This week.
why don't we just,
So-
I mean, is it,
Do it before vacation, and if you can.
yeah, we can get, but the school's always open, isn't it?
I mean, there's still gonna be people there for a period of time and they'll bring in, it's like usually we end up having our sleigh rides over Christmas break, so.
But I know
bring
they,
in
they
somebody
shut
to
down
open the
good
school.
partners,
Yeah.
there were people there during. the
They'll bring in
summer.
a janitor or something to open the school for us. Mhm.
Well, Michelle, you wanna go ahead and figure out a date, time, and contact the
Do
school?
we wanna do it as like one of our regular scheduled
Yes,
first
I
and third
think, I
kind
think
of?
so, unless you guys think it needs.
I don't know,
to
we
be
did a special meeting for some reason I thought we did a special meeting. Korean church.
Yeah, that was a
We did.
special.
You did.
Well, and you just did the one.
Right.
I mean, that's the
So-
topic that we.
Yeah, maybe we
It's
just,
just-
maybe it'd be.
Yeah,
I just think, yeah, just focused on that.
Yeah.
Let me see what dates they can give us.
Just when you're, got everything set, just let me know and we'll start pushing it out.
How much notice again for special meetings?
24 hours.
Oh.
But I think you wanna push this out at least.
Yeah, I just
30
didn't know if
30
we,
days.
I couldn't remember if it was,
Maybe something we do like in August or July, something like that.
but Chad, in the interim, I think it would be, I would still appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and talk through.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm all for,
Yep.
yeah, let's get a meeting there.
We're all in favor of calming. Fire and
I'm
EMS.
also in favor of air conditioning, by the way, right now. But
Fire and EMS.
What's going on?
There were 20 calls for service in Perry Township from Worthington Fire last month.
And I got an email from, Chief Zambito, he'd like to come to one of our meetings, in June, so as soon as I can figure out which one, it'll get him on the agenda.
I got a weird question, I'm just curious about this. Honest to God, there's a fire and EMS from Worthington down at the bottom of the hill at, next to the Hills Market. Does Sharon Township have to pay for all those runs?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's why they had to go on the ballot,
yeah.
because they were paying so
From everything,
minimal.
That's unbelievable. I mean,
I could bill $1 million a year.
well, and this is only the first step. They're stair stepping till they get to the cost that they think they should be.
yeah, I said, I was there tonight and they're sure.
I can't comment.
I don't think-
Oh, that's right, you can't, I don't think.
Nobody's paying for that to show up every time.
Yeah,
But that,
They got a sweet ass deal for a long time.
is that not a JED, in the JED?
Yeah, they have a job.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
but yeah.
All right, didn't mean to get sidetracked, I was curious about that, please.
under old business, our duty weapons have been purchased. We will be transitioning over to the new duty weapons in June and qualify with our weapons. So they're here.
What are we gonna do with our old weapons?
They're gonna be traded into, go against the cost of our current ones.
So,
All
The
the,
ammunition.
yeah, ammunition, holsters, everything that's going towards a trade to our new weapons. So. And then last meeting I brought up about Mary Geis as far as helping us with a collaborative. We spoke and she would prefer to be a part-time employee and not a 1099, just to make things simpler for her and so forth. I know we had talked about 8 hours a week. I don't see her being an 8-hour week employee. It's up to 8 hours. Sergeant Miller, who handles our collaborative in Lexington now, said he spends maybe a couple hours a week. He said, but that is him spending 20 minutes here, leaving, take a call, come back. He said, if somebody's doing it on a regular basis, he said, we're probably talking 2 hours a week and some weeks probably not at all. So, again, it's just trying to find time to get someone to do that.
And I did a quick calculation with wage, employers that part of Oprah's and Medicare. At worst case scenario, 8 hours a week is, 16,506. Just to give you just $16,506.
All in.
That's all. And
But if we're not gonna need her, we're near 8 hours, why don't we make it like 6 hours? Or is that?
I just want, the only reason I
That
want.
odd
the 8
week, it could be 8 hours.
It could be because I don't know what the collaborative is gonna come out next. They're pushing for accreditation at some point, and that's the struggle, is how to manage that in a smaller agency when they want all the policies, all the procedures, and then you have to do this by a certain date. So I just wanted the 8 hours as a cushion in case we get to that point. I can tell you, Mary doesn't really want to work 8 hours a week. She's just kind of, do this to help out type thing. So
I'm not trying to put caps on things, another way you can do it is. No more than 8 hours a week or 200 hours in a year, which would be 4 hours a week times, roughly 50 working weeks. Something along those days. So that average is 4, recognizing there could be some weeks of 8 and some like 0.
Right.
You comfortable with something like that?
I would prefer to keep 8, only because if there is a time that we need more,
We can always amend it.
I would be good with that too.
Let's see how it goes. I'm fine with up to 8 hours, but I'm just trying to contain costs.
Yeah, oh, no, absolutely. And that's why I said, I don't expect her to work 8 hours a week. I just want the cushion in case we get, if the collaborative, again, quick example is we have 7 groups that we have to stay in the collaborative. And they just announced a month ago, the governor decided to drop the other 30. Now, they have not given us a timeline that says you have to have it done by this time. But Sergeant Miller has been working on those. That's what we give the mayor. Right now, we don't have a deadline. So she can spend a couple hours a week going, this is done, this is done.
Okay,
If that deadline hits and they go, you gotta have it in tomorrow, then we have that cushion, if that makes sense.
so we're looking for a motion now for retaining Mary up to 8 hours a week at a cost of what?
Well,
Hourly rate?
well, her hourly rate is, which is
34,
basically
37.
where we are now.
Yeah.
Steve, do you have that?
I have it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's $34.37 now.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
yes.
And then under new business, with Sergeant Ashley retiring, we did a process. We got down to a handful of candidates. We came up with our number 1. So I'm asking for a motion to approve a conditional officer to Stephen Jackson for the full-time spot to replace Sergeant Ashley,
Where's Mr. Jackson from?
Sharon Township.
Gotta make another one.
That's the case.
The farm team.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. How much time
Stanley Cup.
how much time? I mean, when's he gonna start?
Well, this will be contingent. He has passed background, went through our oral boards,
Yeah,
and the panel assessed 1, 2, 3, 4. Conditional officer will give me the authority to give him or to set him up for CVSA, physical and psychological.
But mid-June.
Mid-June is when we're looking. Yeah, it would be, our tentative date is June 16th. But again, that's a moving target depending on how long it takes for him to get through. Dr. Price, who does our psychological, is kind of the difficult one. The other 2 will be simple.
so how many officers are they down?
They're only down 1 now. Once he leaves, that'll be 2.
I make a motion for the conditional offer of employment for Stephen Jackson.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
yes.
And that's all I have.
Madam Administrator.
Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and skip the 161. They said Dublin Building Systems, I'm just leaving that on for the time being, and we'll be following up here.
Let me go back to 161. Did he get something about the reevaluation of the cost of that meeting?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There. So that came through and didn't write it down. We need to work on the infrastructure loan program. Nothing new on Long Carmel, other than they've taken down all the trees all the way through here. They've got Bright Road, they're starting to put up new signals, if you notice that.
I don't know when's the last time been through, but everything from the roundabout to Sawmill, there's no trees, no shrubs, everything from Bright Road to our driveway, no trees, no shrubs.
It's nice because I can see.
Yeah, you can actually see, yeah. It's much easier to turn left now. There, no question. You can see all the way down Sawmill Road, which is nice.
And the last thing I want to make mention of is I got a letter from one of the trustees over at Sharon Township. In regards to the biosolid, and I shared that with you. She's asking for feedback. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a look at it, let me know if you need anything or if you want to be participating in signing the letter that's going out. If you could let me know by the end of the week, so I can let her know, that'd be great. And that's all I have.
Fiscal officer,
President, motion for approval of payroll and disbursements?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Vote.
yes.
Yes.
I make a motion to enter into executive session by roll call vote, for conference with township legal counsel, who is physically present, concerning disputes involving the township that are subject of pending or imminent court action by roll call vote.
Mr. Roper?
Yes,
Mr. English?
Yes.
Mr. Cheney?
Yes.
let's take a 2-minute break and get all
Give
that.
us six.
Sure. I think of any events.
To talk to.
I mean, the next one, because we're